Hi people, welcome back to the new back to the original channel, Cyber Prepper UK. It's going to be based on prepping, but it's also going to be based on current affairs as well. And I'm going to carry on speaking about the subject that I spoke about in my last video, which is the Islamization of Britain and Europe and many other Western countries. I've got a video clip here I want to show you that it's a Muslim cleric or something like that. He's an academic that's speaking about the basic beliefs of Islam. Let's have a watch of this.
And Musharraf, can you tell us what the basic beliefs are?
Well, first of all, beliefs in Arabic is iman, and it simply means to accept as truth whatever the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, taught. So it's having this unwavering belief and acceptance of, first and foremost, of course, is belief in God, in an almighty God, and really that is it, to be honest. The rest of the two major beliefs, that is the prophethood and the hereafter, all revolve around this. And of course we'll be talking about the six beliefs: angels, the books, the hereafter, the predestination. But really it is all about one God. And all these other elements and tenets of the faith really reinforce the belief in one supreme, almighty, all-powerful God, really.
So these, it's really all about God. Yeah. And the six basic beliefs, so if we count them, let's see, there's God, it's angels, it's messengers, it's books, it's...
Right, now you see, you listen to that. Listen to this Israeli Jew talking about the West is watering the tree that it's going to be hanged under. And he's basically, what he's saying is accurate. You know what I mean? It's people who've got to start waking up, but not waking up, because waking up means you're unaware of it. They need to start making a stand and accepting that what we did with the letting in of all these migrants was wrong. And that we shouldn't have been letting them in undocumented. All these hundreds of thousands of Eastern Muslims. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying all Muslims are bad, because all Muslims aren't bad. I serve with a couple of Muslims, top blokes, you know, sound blokes. But, you know what I mean? The undocumented fighting age men that are now being housed in military barracks where they have training facilities, war fighting training facilities. You know what I mean? Come on, people, wake up. Anyway, let's watch this video.
The number of Muslims in the West is going up. That's a fact. The number of Christians in Muslim countries is collapsing. That's also a fact. By 2050, Islam is expected to be the world's largest religion in terms of followers. This issue has massive implications, yet it is almost never discussed. Not because it is unimportant and not because no one notices, but because it is uncomfortable. And the reason it is uncomfortable is that the dominant narrative in the West is a bad mixture of multiculturalism and political correctness. A few days ago, I saw a video by my friend Sahar. Go follow him. He's a master of debunking anti-Israel videos. The link will be below. He was reviewing another video that shows how Muslims want to take over America by creating closed Muslim-only communities. Throughout the video, he said several times that the West needs to wake up.
It's already happening, guys. Wake up. So people in the UK, chop chop, it's time to wake up. Yet it's happening as we speak. So wake the frick up.
I agree and I disagree. The West doesn't need to wake up. Waking up is for those who are asleep, unaware. What the West really needs to do is something much harder. It needs to admit it was wrong and change course. And fast. Multiculturalism is the idea that no culture is better than another, that it is all just in the eye of the beholder. In a moment, I will show you how easy it is to disprove this nonsense. Political correctness makes it so that if you do notice cultural differences, and we all know they exist, you are not supposed to say anything. Definitely not criticize it, because of the danger of being labeled a racist. I'm not a multiculturalist. I hope you aren't either. Let me be clear, when it comes to the unimportant things, skin color, clothing, music, food, sure, why not? Who cares if your skin is darker or lighter, or whether you like rice more than pasta? You can identify as whatever you want. Do you do a good job? I will hire you. But when it comes to the essentials, the fundamental values, democracy, women's rights, equality before the law, these are not negotiable. And our Western society must be absolutely clear about that. There are ways of life that cannot be tolerated. Nazism, communism, and Sharia law, which a large number of Muslims want to push into the West. Let's give concrete examples. Women's rights. Do you believe women have equal rights to men? If so, are you willing to accept a culture where women do not? Let's say I tell you that in my culture, it is acceptable to beat women. That in my family, it's a tradition. My grandfather beat my grandmother. My father beat my mother. And I beat my wife. Is that acceptable? Or if in my culture, a woman is considered property of the man at the head of the family, is that acceptable? That's Sharia law. By the way, the age of marriage, or to be precise, the age at which girls are married off, is very low. Is that acceptable too? So, do you believe in multiculturalism or do you believe in women's rights? You can't have both. Another example. One of the best things about the West, something we take for granted, is equality before the law. Under Sharia, non-Muslims have an inferior status called dhimmi and must pay a special tax called jizya. That's only for Jews and Christians. Members of all other religions are to be executed. That's also the punishment for leaving Islam. So again, the question, do you believe in multiculturalism and accept that non-Muslims must pay special taxes, or are you a decent human being with moral backbone? How many Muslims in the West want to see Sharia implemented? Depends on the poll and the country, but it ranges between 30 and 50%. That's not a small number. And here is another thing. In Muslim countries, it is always, or almost always, the religious extremists who end up on top. I'm always amazed by how quickly Western Europe forgot that thousands of Muslims who were born and raised in the West joined ISIS and committed the worst barbaric crimes. This happened just 10 years ago in Syria. 20 years from now, it will happen in Britain cities. The signs are already visible. You can also see it in the general level of violence. I love how the media frames violence incidents, sexual assaults, and riots under the vague label migrants. Are those migrants from India? Maybe Chinese migrants are throwing stones at the police? Or is it, Western Europeans who allow Sharia law are like people watering the tree on which they will be hanged. So what can be done? The first thing is not even against anything. It is for something, for Western values. It doesn't matter if you're from Britain, France, Czech, Poland, the US, or Israel. Be for Western values. Be proud of your nation's contribution to Western civilization. As an Israeli Jew, of course I could point to all the countless contributions of Jews and Israelis to the world. But let me say a few words about Britain. I just got back from London a few days ago. London is a city located about 6,500 kilometers east of Wisconsin. My wife had her 40th birthday, and for the first time we traveled without the kids. Highly recommended. One thing that bothered me, even though we did all the central tours and visited Britain's most iconic sites, there wasn't a single word about Britain's enormous contribution to the world. Now, I'm not a British historian. I will just share my opinion as an Israeli tour guide and low-level Mossad agent. I have plenty of criticism of Britain in the Mandate period. My grandfather fought the British. The British blocked Jewish immigration from Europe, Jews who could have been saved, while at the same time didn't limit Arab immigration into the land of Israel. The British created Jordan, and British officers led the Jordanian army that invaded Israel. They appointed Hajj Amin al-Husseini as a Grand Mufti, the man who led Arab attacks on Jews and collaborated with the Nazis to exterminate Jews. I could go on with criticism, but if you compare the land of Israel when the British arrived in 1917 to how it looked when they left in 1948, it's a different world in every field. The British brought law and order after centuries of corrupt Islamic rule. They built infrastructure, roads, railways, the port of Haifa, the airport. Yes, they did it to serve themselves and their empire. But here is the important point most people missed. It didn't come at the expense of the locals. On the contrary, it advanced the locals, Jews and Arabs alike. Look at medicine, epidemic, infant mortality. The British brought progress, good progress. And I think this wasn't just true in the land of Israel, but across the British Empire. And when I walked around central London, I didn't see one word about Britain's immense contribution to the world. By the way, Britain was also the first country to abolish slavery. Nice, isn't it? And beyond that, thanks to Britain, German is not the dominant language of Europe. And trust me, for that alone, the British deserve thanks. In English, the covers everything. The boy, the girls belong to the dog. In German, you've got like 12 different ones. Der, die, das, den, dem, des. A nightmare. The very first thing the West must do is be proud of its heritage. Once you have firm foundations, everything else becomes easier. And this needs to be taught in schools and said clearly to everyone who comes to live in the West. These are the basic values: democracy, women's rights, equality before the law. You think gay shouldn't be teachers? That's what most Muslims in Britain think. You think women should always obey their husbands? Again, that's what most Muslims in Britain think. You want Sharia law? Great! Go to Yemen, go to Afghanistan, go to Syria, go to Egypt. Go to the places where Sharia law already exists and enjoy. The thing people in the West don't understand is that Islamization is a one-way road. At the beginning of this video, I said that the number of Muslims is rising, but also that the number of Christians in Muslim countries is collapsing. This is important. If you told me, yeah, Belgium and England are becoming more Muslim, but in Iraq and Pakistan, the Christian communities are growing fast, I would say, fine, fair enough. But that's not the case. Islamization is not something that happens only in the West. It also happens in the Middle East. The clearest example is Lebanon. When Lebanon was majority Christian, it was the pearl of the Middle East. In just a few decades, the percentage of Christians dropped from 60% to 30%. And the moment Christians leave, the country collapses. And it happened very fast. The Middle East used to be made up of many different ethnic groups and many Christian minorities. All of them, all the Christian communities, and every other minority in Muslim countries are persecuted and erased. Not just Christians, Hindus, Jews, Baha'is, Zoroastrians, Druze. There are no thriving minorities in Muslim countries. They all live in fear. And that's where Western Europe is going. That's where Western Europe is running. Now, in the comments, I often get people calling me a liar. They throw words around like propaganda, hasbara, Zionist. The last one, by the way, is true. To all of them, I say, prove me wrong. write to me, hey, I'm from the Netherlands, and here the Jewish community is way more violent than the Muslim community. Or, hey, I'm from France, and here it is Jews attacking Muslims. Or, I'm from Iraq, and actually the numbers of Christians has gone up in recent years. Instead of calling me names, just prove me wrong. Give me links to Muslim thinkers who argue that Jews and Christians are just fine. I'm waiting for you in the comments.
Right, now you've watched that. We've got a video here on Poland. Now, Poland have got my utmost respect, you know what I mean? They're doing it the right way. They don't believe in letting in any Islamic member from the East, from anywhere that is coming into the country. Not happening. You know what I mean? Many people call them racist and Marxist and all this crap. It's absolute bollocks. You know what I mean? They're not racist. It's got nothing to do. This has got nothing to do with race or religion. It's got everything to do with waking up. And if you're going to come into somebody's country, you go by their rules. You don't bring in your own rules and say, right, your laws don't count now. We're going to have our laws, like Sharia law. You know what I mean? You ain't bringing bloody Sharia law into my country and trying to replace English law with Sharia law. Not happening. But anyway, let's watch this video on Poland.
The issue of Islamization in Europe, under the guise of multiculturalism, has stirred unease and provoked heated debates across the continent. Many European nations, once champions of open borders and multicultural societies, are now grappling with the unintended consequences of mass immigration from Muslim-majority countries. The European Union's policy of dispersing immigrants, particularly from Islamic nations, among member states has led to significant tensions. Poland, in particular, has emerged as a staunch opponent of this policy, refusing to accept refugees from the Islamic world. This refusal led to condemnation by the European Court of Justice for violating EU agreements. However, rather than bowing to pressure, Poland has doubled down on its stance, emerging as a prominent voice within the EU and the broader Western world on the issues of illegal Muslim immigration. Poland's approach is not merely about border control or demographic shifts. It reflects a deeper commitment to safeguarding its cultural heritage, sovereignty, and way of life in an increasingly globalized world. Poland's approach to immigration, particularly from Muslim-majority countries, is rooted in a desire to preserve its cultural and national identity. The country and its people have been vocal about its concerns regarding mass immigration, particularly from Muslim-majority countries. The right-wing party of Poland argues that such immigration poses a threat to Poland's Catholic and Slavic cultural identity, as well as its national security. This perspective gained significant traction during the European migrant crisis of 2015, when millions of refugees and migrants, primarily from Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, sought asylum in Europe. While Western European countries like Germany and Sweden welcomed these migrants, Poland, alongside Hungary and the Czech Republic, resisted the EU's migrant quota system. Poland's government justified its position by emphasizing the need to protect its citizens from potential security risks associated with radical Islam. This view has resonated with a large portion of the Polish population, who fear that an influx of Muslim immigrants could lead to social unrest, terrorism, and the erosion of Poland's traditional values. At the heart of Poland's opposition to illegal Muslim immigration is a desire to preserve its cultural identity. Poland is a predominantly Catholic country with a strong sense of national pride and historical consciousness. The memory of past invasions and occupations, particularly by the Ottoman Empire and the Soviet Union, has instilled in Poles a deep-seated fear of losing their sovereignty and cultural uniqueness. Poland's leaders have argued that accepting large numbers of Muslim immigrants could dilute the country's Catholic heritage and lead to cultural conflicts.
I am fearful of such a tendency, such a trend, which is clearly visible, very much visible in France, in Germany, and in other countries. Muslim migrants from the Middle East who are coming to Germany and France and other countries and who want to change their culture of those countries, those nations. I am clearly opposing to such attempts. I'm admiring French culture. I'm admiring Spanish culture and the British culture, but I also admire my Polish culture, and I want to preserve it. I want to nurture it. I don't want it to be destroyed by Muslim migrants coming from the Middle East or from Africa.
Moreover, Poland's stance is also influenced by its historical experience of maintaining its identity under foreign rule. For over a century, Poland was partitioned and occupied by neighboring powers. Yet it managed to preserve its language, religion, and traditions. This historical resilience has shaped Poland's contemporary approach to immigration, leading it to prioritize the protection of its cultural and religious heritage over the demands of multiculturalism. Poland's resistance to illegal Muslim immigration is also informed by the perceived failure of multiculturalism in other parts of Europe. In recent years, countries like the United Kingdom, France, and Germany have experienced significant social unrest and violence involving Muslim migrants. These incidents have fueled concerns that the integration of Muslim immigrants into European societies has not been as successful as initially hoped. The rise of radical Islam and the growing influence of Islamic cultural practices in these countries have led to fears that multiculturalism could ultimately threaten the cohesion and identity of European nations. Poland's hardline stance on illegal Muslim immigration has made it a polarizing figure within the EU. While some Western European countries criticize Poland for what they see as xenophobic and isolationist policies, others view Poland as a defender of European civilization against the perceived threat of Islamization. Poland's position has found support among other Central and Eastern European countries, particularly Hungary and Slovakia, which share similar concerns about Muslim immigration. This has led to the formation of a loose alliance within the EU, often referred to as the Visegrad Group, which advocates for stricter immigration controls and greater national sovereignty in immigration policy. Poland's stance has also drawn criticism from human rights organizations and liberal politicians, who argue that the country's policies are discriminatory and undermine the EU's values of solidarity and human rights. These critics contend that Poland's refusal to accept Muslim refugees contradicts the principles of compassion and humanitarianism that the EU is supposed to uphold. Poland's role as a torchbearer in the European debate on illegal Muslim immigration and cultural identity reflects a broader trend of rising nationalism and skepticism towards multiculturalism in Europe. While Poland's policies have sparked controversy and debate, they have also highlighted the deep divisions within Europe on how to handle immigration and cultural integration. As the continent continues to grapple with these challenges, Poland's influence is likely to remain a significant factor in shaping the future of European immigration policy.
Right, everyone. We've got a video coming up here about Tommy Robinson exposing and highlighting the dangers of the Islamization of Britain. People calling Tommy racist. Tommy's never been racist. Or if you want to call him by his original name, Stephen actually learned. He's never been racist. Never. He's grown up around black people, Chinese people. He's got friends of all colours of races. You know what I mean? And religions. You know what I mean? So cut this bloody idea that he's racist, because he isn't. All right? Now, really listen to this video and take note, because this is happening whether you like it or not. See what he says.
Prominent figure in the debate about Islamization in Europe, presenting a range of arguments that he believes illustrate the dangers associated with this phenomenon. His stance touches on various critical aspects, including national security, cultural integration, economic impacts, and...
How do you feel about Brother Tate becoming a Muslim now?
How do I feel about him becoming a Muslim? Disappointed. Tate's a genius, yeah? He's a very clever man. And what he's doing now, he's always done. Yeah, he's tried it with multiple different... So Top G, he had Mr. Plenty before that. Have you seen his rap song?
Yeah, it's awful.
Oh, bruv.
Yeah.
Like, I've done some fuck-ups in my life, man. I wanted this on the podcast. Say, bruv, I've fucked up sometimes, man, but what the fuck? But, so Tate everything he says. So it's like Katie Hopkins.
Do you know each other personally, right?
Yeah, I know Tate. Yeah, yeah. Tate's from Luton. I know him. I've been out to I went out to Romania. I went out there in 2017. Spent a few days out with him. But he's a very and Tate's mentor is a man called Amir, a Muslim man, Bosnian Special Forces from Storm Gym. Very well respected. No one would have everyone I speak to, because my friend is one of the main trainers at that gym. Everyone likes him. Yeah, Muslim, non-Muslim. He's a great guy. Tate, I think, puts a lot of his value comes from the teachings of that man as well, yeah? And his guidance from him. So everything as Tate carried on talking over the years, I'm thinking, well, that's Islamic. That fits in with Islam. That fits in as he's talking about what he sees and women and his views on multiple wives and all of these things fit into the teachings of Islam. And Islam also, at this time, is the only group, Muslims are the only group in the UK who will stand up against the LGBTQ plus sexualization of children. That's the only group of people. They're very principled in their values and they will not back down. Yeah, they don't bend. Islam ain't gonna bend.
Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, for them.
Because you're similar to you as well.
No, it's fair. Yeah, yeah.
You have your
I respect certain things.
The resilience
and and it will not bend. You'll bend before Islam bends. Yeah? Your country will bend. Your laws will bend. Islam won't bend. The Muslim community will not bend. I don't know if you've seen this story. So, Muslims are protesting outside the schools in Birmingham about the LGBTQ plus thing. Yeah, they teaching boys they can be girls, and I sat there and they're outside the schools.
Oh, the teacher said, "I want to abolish heteronormativity."
Yeah. So it's about them enforcing a political ideology within the children, yeah, about sexualizing them and changing. And they don't want you to have a dad, but they also want you to be weak. They want the men to be feminized. They want you to be confused because you're easy to control for what they've got planned for the future. So I reached out to that. I went up to the Muslim geezer's house. And I thought, you're being labelled as extremists. I'm a dad. I agree with everything you're saying, yeah? But the way they got round that, they labelled them as extremists. The parents were called extremists. And then they got court injunctions banning them from attending the school. So then it's gone away. But you're right, the woman behind that education process in Birmingham, she said 5 years prior that she wants to smash heteronormativity. So this is a teacher saying she wants to smash men and women being together because they don't want it. And I said, now they're indoctrinating and they're calling it diversity and inclusion. So no, that's not inclusion. You're not. And with that ain't happening with my kids. But so many parents now are letting it happen within our communities
because of political correctness.
Because they're scared.
Yeah, but the abolishment of heteronormative roles, a lot of people don't know. And one thing I will say. Heteronormative and that movement is very different to the homosexual movement because homosexuality has always existed through years of time and apart from regions where the holy books were enforced. When I talk about the trans movement, it all started with Alfred Kinsey, I think in like the 1960s, I think it was, if my memory serves me correctly. And his whole idea was he performed studies and he had the idea that children should be sexually free and be free to be whoever they want to be, and he's recorded to have done sexual studies on kids as young as like 9 months, and that he is the doctor
of this
and
they know that getting to the kids what you hear in your first 7 years
but he was similarly to Antifa where he was a Marxist, and that's what he wanted, destroyed the nuclear home. You should look into Alfred Kinsey. He's the emergent, obviously
it all starts.
People who from that group now say, okay, that's what it started as. It was something negative and it's morphed into something else they see as positive, but the birth of that movement
that's Marxist.
He also practiced on people like mental health in jail as well, so his studies were very, very, very contentious from the beginning.
Robinson emphasises national security as a primary concern regarding Islamization. He argues that increased Islamic influence could pose significant threats to European safety and stability. According to Robinson, the rise of Islamic extremism and radicalization represents a serious risk, particularly when linked to incidents of terrorism and violence that have occurred in various European cities. He cites events such as the Paris attacks and incidents in Berlin, London, and other cities as proof of the potential dangers.
Every British person today is offended with people shouting Allah Akbar!
After 2 years below the radar, he's back, promoting a new movement in the UK against radical Islam. Having left the EDL, the English Defence League, Tommy Robinson now wants to tell the world that the EDL was the wrong way to confront radical Islam. The aggression, the booze, the football hooligan element, he claims, all of it wrong, and the extreme right-wingers.
I've gone out there and I felt a little bit ashamed of how we carried ourselves off in England, but at that time it's what was needed. We were young and we were angry.
Instead, he says this is the way we go in the UK. 40,000 gathered for a Pegida rally in Dresden. Robinson was on stage there and is now launching Pegida in Britain.
You say you want to stop Islamic immigration?
Yes.
Right. What about building mosques?
We need to stop the building of mosques temporarily. The same with the immigration. Look, we'll assess it again in 5 years' time. If we've got
So 5-year ban on immigration if you're a Muslim, 5-year ban on building mosques.
Yes. The majority of people in Britain are concerned with the Islamification of the country. The majority of people are concerned with the effects, literal interpretation of it.
Pegida attracts large crowds for anti-radical Islam rallies across Northern Europe and has mostly avoided the thuggery of the extreme right. And that is what Robinson and Scott now want to bring to Britain.
Robinson is particularly worried about the potential for more attacks if radical Islamic groups are not adequately monitored. He advocates for stringent security measures, including enhanced vetting processes for individuals entering Europe from regions with a high prevalence of extremist ideologies. Robinson's position reflects a belief that European governments must adopt more rigorous policies to prevent potential threats from infiltrating their societies. He argues that the current security protocols may be insufficient and calls for a re-evaluation of how security screenings are conducted. Another major aspect of Robinson's argument concerns cultural integration. He believes that the cultural values associated with Islamization can create conflicts with European traditions and societal norms. Robinson suggests that the growing presence of Islamic communities in Europe could lead to a clash of values, potentially undermining the social cohesion that is vital for a harmonious society.
You talk about not feeling safe in your hometown. Well, I am from Rotherham, and we were shocked and disgusted by everything that happened. And it was hard enough living in a town that had to deal with that. But then the following weekend, the EDL and other members of the far right came to our town.
Where are you from, sorry?
I'm from Rotherham.
Rotherham, okay, yeah.
And members of the groups from the far right, like the EDL, the BNP, came to our town. And we had to lock ourselves away in our houses, people who were Pakistani or Muslim, because they didn't feel safe in their town. 2 streets away from my house, the EDL, members of the EDL and these groups were smashing shop windows and cars. My dad was assaulted because he was a Muslim taxi driver by men who identified themselves as members of these groups. And my question to you is that you talk about Muslim extremism, as you should, because it is a problem. I'm not denying that it is, but you don't mention attacks from members of the far right that attack other people, or members from the far right that go around thinking it's acceptable to physically harm others. You focus on Muslims, you place the onus on Muslims to speak out, which Muslims do speak out, and I think that they should, but you don't focus on these groups that do this. You don't talk about how these groups aren't representative of the EDL or the groups as a whole. I know that you've left the EDL now, but when you were a member you didn't, and I just feel like there are tensions on both sides, and both sides should be held accountable. But
there are, but I think to compare groups on the far right with Islamist terrorism who wish to kill, murder, maim, and they are killing, they are murdering. There's no groups of EDL or groups of the far right picking up young Muslim girls and raping them. It's not happening, okay? I know it's disgusting and sick if your dad's been attacked. You're from Rotherham. The grooming case from Rotherham. A local councillor, Muslim, went to court and gave a character reference for the groomers. He gave a character reference. The ex-mayor, who's a Muslim, went to court and gave a character reference. After that court case, once those men were convicted for rape, disgusting, sickening crimes against kids, there was no outcry. I'm not trying to justify any of it. I remember looking at it and thinking, hold on, a councillor who's gone to court and gave a character reference for a paedophile who's raped a kid, and he ain't lost his job. And yet, when you say I don't speak out, I actually hate the far right, the real far right. as we've seen, who the far right I see as the far right. And I think it's right to bracket every people who are critical of Islam as an ideology. It is right to condemn what you're saying is acts of violence against innocent Muslims. But the reason why I don't speak out as much about them is because they're not blowing things up. They're not murdering. I haven't really seen many incidents or any evidence of the crimes like in comparison to what we're seeing. I don't think that, you see, the far right is going to grow. As we go on in the coming years, it is going to grow. You will eventually see an attack from the far right on innocent Muslims, whether it be a mosque. But it's like 95%, 5%. The biggest threat to world peace is ISIS, Islamist ideology. So that's why, as you said, I don't speak about it as much. I do think it's something that, again, the government may not really address until something really terrible happens. But I'm sorry that you experience those things, but I don't speak about them on an equal level because I don't think they are equal.
He often points out that the integration process for individuals from Islamic backgrounds argues that there have been numerous instances where large-scale immigration has resulted in isolated communities that do not fully integrate into the broader society. This, he believes, leads to a fragmentation of social unity and can exacerbate tensions between different cultural groups. He asserts that successful integration requires more than just providing basic services. It also involves fostering mutual understanding and shared values, which he claims is often overlooked.
So what are you doing now with the Quillam Foundation, and how is that different from what you've done in the past with VDL and everything else?
Currently, I'm not doing anything. I'm under, obviously I was on a licence, I'm on a licence condition. When I left with Quillam, I thought there was a very good opportunity to bring people from the EDL. I think most of them, I think it would surprise you. You know, like, everyone has this opinion, don't you? You have this view. I think you'd be surprised if you met many of the people who are in English Defence League. It's like I said to Quillam. So Quillam, we started organising meetings, and then I got slapped with a condition that I'm not allowed to contact the EDL or I'll go to jail. And I felt a major part of it was to try and find a middle ground on many issues and bring those activists and those people around the table. That's what I thought would be a beneficial way forward. As I've said, I think that a beneficial way would be to prevent the erosion of our culture and identity would be for Muslims to help us do that on issues that, but I'm under a condition not to contact the EDL. I've been in jail. I went into custody. Then I was on a tag. I'm on licence conditions now where I'm being warned about really what I can talk about and what I can't talk about. I don't think I'll be free till July 2015 to really look at what I'd like to do. Osama, you see, within Quillam, Osama's key, I think, because he's devout and he's religious. Madge's more secular. So Osama, if every imam in Britain was like Osama, we wouldn't have a problem. So but at the same time, Osama's views are not representative, not representative of all the Muslims in Britain, but of all the leadership and the imams. It's not representative, and we need it to be. And that's a hard struggle, but I think everyone has their part to play, and I was questioning myself when I was away whether I played my part, and that's it. But I offer my hand of friendship to any Muslim who wants to tackle these issues, solve them. I think the only way to do that is to bring people together. I think to continue, Luton Borough Council, for example, just had a no policy, no dialogue. You can have no dialogue for 10 years, you're going to end up talking. You're going to end up talking. You're better off finding where you can agree on where you can't. Now with Osama, I don't agree on everything with Osama. We're not gonna. No one's going to agree on every policy together. We have different opinions on many things, but we can agree on what we think is best and what's right, and how to move forward. As I said, I'm really waiting until July 2015. That's what I've got to do. I'm going to plug my book here, so I'm writing a book, and I'm going to tell everything that's gone on, tell the truth, and because there's a lot that hasn't been told.
Robinson also addresses the economic implications of Islamization. He argues that the financial strain of accommodating new arrivals, particularly those from regions with significant Islamic influence, could put additional pressure on public resources. He highlights concerns about the costs associated with healthcare, housing, and social services for these individuals, suggesting that these expenses could be substantial. Robinson is critical of what he perceives as a lack of thorough economic assessment regarding the impact of rising immigration. He argues that European governments should carefully consider the economic ramifications of their immigration policies and prioritise efficient resource management. Robinson believes that the potential economic burden of accommodating large numbers of new arrivals needs to be addressed proactively to avoid placing excessive strain on public. Political ideology is another critical component of Robinson's argument, expressing concern about the potential shift in political dynamics and societal values. Robinson argues that the rise of political Islam could threaten democratic principles and freedom.
Right, people, we've got a video here now from Dan Wooten. He's got an amazing channel, and he speaks a lot of truth, and I think you should go check out his channel, give him some love. You know what I mean? He's a brilliant presenter, all of it. He's a brilliant reporter. So go check out his channel. But he's got one here of how Tommy Robinson's highlighted again the Islamisation of Britain. But not only that, but the Islamisation of the Reform UK party is the word I'm looking for, because I don't want him in his government, because he's really Nigel Flip-Flop Farage, as he's been called, because he keeps flip-flopping on everything he's saying. He's saying here that he's not going to be deporting all the illegal immigrants. You know what I mean? So give this video a good watch, really pay attention, okay?
For reform a few months ago. It was whilst I was in jail, and I knew someone, a businessman that I was talking to, that was going to that meal. It was £25,000 a ticket. Do you know the whole head table of Reform's meal with Nigel Farage? Pakistani Muslims.
There is an elephant in the room when it comes to Reform UK, Britain's likely next government, that no one in the British MSM is prepared to tackle for fear of being accused of Islamophobia, or even worse, racism. And that is, of course, the Islamization of Nigel Farage's party, which he has proudly trumpeted, even though it runs in direct contrast to his new SMP Sarah Pochin, who had the balls to say this on Talk TV in the past 24 hours.
To this country, and it is the culture of Islam who have absolutely no regard for the value of women. So these men coming in on these boats, 800 to 1,000 a week, 26,000 this year alone, have a totally different view, a medieval view.
So what is really going on with reform and this medieval, to use Sarah Pochin's words, religion? Well, I want to fairly investigate today. What we do know as a fact is that the SAS hero, TV star Ant Middleton, who had been lined up by Reform UK to run against Sadiq Khan, or at least run against Labour's replacement for Sadiq Khan as London mayor, is now out. He will run as an independent instead, and has already secured the endorsement of Tommy Robinson right here on Outspoken last week. Meanwhile, Tim Shipman of the establishment Spectator has revealed that Reform is lining up Layla Cunningham to be their candidate to succeed Khan. The former Tory, and remember she was a Tory up until very, very recently, revealed this morning on GB News that she is indeed a practicing Muslim.
They've never had a woman mayor of London.
No, I will support anyone who can beat Sadiq Khan.
Yeah, and you're a Muslim too, aren't you?
I am.
Are you a practicing Muslim?
I am.
Interesting.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining.
Now look, does that matter? That's the question. Nigel Farage, who has always been desperate to shut down a far-right label, says absolutely not. His recruitment of a Muslim chairman in Zia Yusuf was strategic, and despite the bloke being an absolute monster of a human being, with a very shady past, Yusuf has been given full power in the party even after he quit in a huff. That's because Farage now argues that winning the Muslim vote is now a political necessity in the UK.
We have a Muslim population in Britain growing by about 75% every 10 years. Right? That's just where we are. If we politically alienate the whole of Islam, we will lose. We'll lose.
So how does one include
We will lose.
And to appease that Muslim vote and the Islamists who control much of the narrative of the MSM today, Farage has gone much further, even ruling out mass deportations altogether and saying he has no issue with the growing scourge of anti-white racism in Britain.
It's a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people. We simply can't do it. At the moment, it's a political impossibility.
But is it your ambition?
No. Yeah, I'm not going to get dragged down the route of mass deportations or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, people are always going to come and go, and we are a country that's engaged in international trade, and we have relationships around the world through the Commonwealth, etc. But yeah, we have to aim at a balanced migration policy.
But net zero still means hundreds of thousands of people coming into Britain, immigrants coming into Britain. Isn't that too many?
It may well be, but we have to start somewhere.
Trump says in America that he wants mass deportations. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants are in Britain at the moment. Some estimates say the number could even be in, 1 million plus. So do you support deporting all of those people?
It's impossible to do. Literally impossible to do.
In terms of the atmosphere in Britain, are you concerned that there is a rising level of anti-white hatred?
I'm just concerned about a deeply divided society.
In our prisons, ensuring that when they do get out, they are...
Without increasingly ignoring his moderate message video, but not subscribed. So
a reform government will stop this betrayal of our women and girls. We will deport every illegal immigrant that sets foot on our shores. We will deport all illegal immigrants housed in hotels up and down this country. We will do everything we can to ensure that those dispersed in the HMOs are found and deported. We will deport all foreign national offenders in our prisons, ensuring that when they do get out, they are not free to walk on our streets. We will instruct our police to respond to every inappropriate sexual behaviour call by migrants against our women and girls. We will empower our Immigration Enforcement Division to detain them, to deport them, to raid town centre businesses along the way. And of course, we have to, and reform will leave the ECHR and put an end to the lucrative merry-go-round of human rights-based appeals. We will stop this madness. It is a matter of national security, and only a reform government will protect women. Thank you.
Then you throw Tommy Robinson into the mix, who post his release from HMP Woodhill has reversed his quiet support of Reform UK by openly criticising the party's appeasement of Islam and actively backing Ben Habib's rival Advance UK party. He posted about this: what happens when we shy away from conversations about forced demographic change, the erosion of British culture and the takeover of Islam? What happens when politicians fail to bring about real change and legislate for the British people? What happens when you shame, persecute, prosecute, silence and denigrate patriotic Brits for the crime of loving their country and knowing the problems we face? You get this. Autistic kid brainwashed by neo-Nazis and their sick ideology planned a terror attack at a mosque after converting to Islam to gain access. Notepads containing swastikas were also recovered before officers later found a copy of Hitler's book Mein Kampf, knives and ingredients for explosive substances at his house. And in his most explosive interview ever with me here on Outspoken last Friday, Tommy also spelled out new issues of how reform is becoming increasingly intertwined with Islam.
The country's primed and ready for populist revolution politically, and we get a party that betray and go back on everything. And not just that. How are you going to tackle the Islamisation of this country? Some people don't want to hear this. With a Muslim chairman of your party. Do you think Marie Le Pen would have a Muslim chairman of her party in France? Do you think Geert Wilders would? Do you think any of the do you think the AFD, Alternative for Deutschland, who want remigration, who won 21% of the vote, do you think they would? The Swedish Democrats, when I started activism, were on 1%, they're now on 24%, yeah? They're not got Muslim leaders, right? Because they've got to tackle the Islamisation. And they've got to do things to do that. And at the minute, there was a fancy dinner for reform a few months ago. It was whilst I was in jail, and I knew someone, a businessman that I was talking to, that was going to that meal. It was £25,000 a ticket. Do you know the whole head table of Reform's meal with Nigel Farage? Pakistani Muslims. So I'm sorry, but didn't they just take £1 million yesterday from a World Economic Forum Muslim? Yeah, it's like you can't Nigel flip-flop Farage. He changes on everything.
But this is not an issue you would dare hear. The cut and controlled GB News or Talk TV and its anti-Tommy presenters like Camilla Tominay, who's still going on about how he's a white supremacist, even daring to touch, let alone right-wing publications, or shall I say so-called right-wing publications like the Daily Telegraph and The Sun, which have long decided that the idea that Islam is not compatible with our way of life is just not a commercially palatable message for them. So, it has been left to our far braver American friends to talk about the Islamification of Reform UK, as Connor Tomlinson did beautifully while appearing on the independent US broadcast Timcast in a segment that has now gone
You have Reform.
viral.
Reform are topping the polls. That's Nigel Farage's party. Nigel Farage, about 2 days ago, gave an interview saying, I am to the left of the country on immigration. Nigel Farage... Yeah, I know. What? Most Americans don't know this. Nigel Farage has spent the last year betraying his base. Entirely betraying them. He has said mass deportations are an impossibility. We're not going to do them. Even after Trump won on them.
Wow.
He turned around and said there are clips of this you'll be able to get. You had Winston Marshall on a few weeks ago. On Winston Marshall's podcast, he said, if politically we alienate Islam, by 2050 we will lose.
I saw that, yeah.
Like, sorry, Nigel, what parts of Islamic theology do you want to incorporate into your party platform? What is winning? Now, it turns out that his company is his party is a company. He's got two directors. One is Nigel Farage. One is his former party chairman called Zia Yusuf. Zia Yusuf gave probably about £200,000 in political donations when the party was about to win the election. He's been Nigel's vizier ever since. He's kind of like Jafar from Aladdin. He left the party. He insulted the party. 2 days later, he was brought back in as the head of UK Doge, and he is now personally appointing loads of Muslim candidates to this party, which is topping the polls because it's meant to be the anti-immigration party. So we genuinely have nobody to vote for.
The Overton window is moving so fast in so many directions as slippery Starmer drives the UK into the ground. And I think for a populist party of the right, like Reform UK, to simply pretend there is no issue with an Islam takeover of our disunited kingdom appears naive at best.
And now we've seen that. Another one on the actual Islamisation of places like Windsor Castle. I mean, come on, people. You know, how Christian can you get than Windsor Castle, the home of our beloved Queen Elizabeth II? You know what I mean? And they're Islamisation it. Get a bloody grip.
Windsor Castle, once the symbol of British royalty and heritage, now echoes with Ramadan prayer. Windsor Castle, a royal residence of Queen Elizabeth, is now a new Islamic prayer room, a striking image of a nation in flux. This isn't just cultural change, it's a political and institutional earthquake. Prime Minister Starmer breaking new ground with a historic iftar at the House of Commons, denouncing the far right and also praising British Muslims and speaking of unity.
I absolutely wanted to be here for today, for this event, and to have the first of these events here in Westminster Hall is really, really fantastic. I want to start by thanking the speakers of both houses, also to the APPG, of course, on British Muslims for organising it. It's fantastic to be able to get so many people here together in such a symbolic way, in such a symbolic place. So it is absolutely fantastic to be with you as people gather in homes, in mosques, and communities around the country during this special season.
But let's be clear, this is not about unity. This is about a shift in power, a shift in influence, a shift in identity, transforming UK into a new Islamic state. Look around. London, Birmingham, Manchester. The sights and sounds of Britain's past are fading, replaced by an undeniable Islamic presence. Over 1,800 mosques now stand across England. More than 80 Sharia courts and 50 Sharia councils operate within the country. The Muslim population was 3.9 million in 2021, and by 2030, it's expected to reach 8.2%, a staggering doubling in just 2 decades. This isn't just demographic change. It's a cultural and political revolution happening in real time. And yet, those in power remain silent. But while this transformation happens at home, where is Keir Starmer's focus? Ukraine, foreign aid, military involvement. He talks about Russia. He pledges billions for a war thousands of miles away. But he ignores the rise of Sharia law, the growing Islamic influence, and the rapid changes happening right on British soil. Is he blindly leading the UK into World War III while overlooking the real crisis at home?
So we agreed some important steps today. First, we will keep the military aid flowing and keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia to strengthen Ukraine now. Second, we agreed that any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be at the table. Third, in the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capabilities.
And while Starmer looks away, the UK's political leadership is undergoing a radical shift. More Muslim politicians are in power than ever before. In 2024, Naz Shah took her oath as a member of parliament, swearing on the Quran, not the Bible, and she is not alone. Several key city leaders are now Muslim. London Mayor Sadiq Khan, Leeds Lord Mayor Abigail Marshall Khatong, Blackburn Mayor Parwaiz Akhtar, Oxford Lord Mayor Lubna Arshad, Luton Mayor Tamina Salim, Oldham Mayor Zahid Chauhan, Rochdale Mayor Shakil Ahmed. Policies are changing. Islamic holidays gaining official recognition, Sharia-compliant financial services expanding, and multicultural initiatives being funded at unprecedented levels. And with this shift in leadership comes a shift in priorities. A significant percentage of Muslims in the UK rely on state support, free housing, welfare benefits, and government assistance. Many families, often with 3, 5, or even 8 children, receive taxpayer-funded accommodations. The burden on Britain's welfare system is mounting, yet very few politicians dare to ask the tough questions.
Marriage between first cousins carries significant health issues, many of which aren't even knowable until post-birth. When practiced generation after generation, there is a significant multiplier effect. Will the Prime Minister think again before instructing his whips to block this legislation?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we've taken our position on that bill. Thank you.
But in today's Britain, merely questioning this reality is branded as hate speech. Reports of rising crime linked to Muslim communities surface time and again, yet they rarely lead to meaningful action. But this is just the beginning. The ripple effects of Islamization run deep and far-reaching. The financial burden on the UK's welfare system is growing as state benefits fund housing, healthcare, and support for a rising number of non-working Muslim families. How sustainable is this? Schools are under pressure to introduce more Islamic-friendly policies, from halal meals to gender-segregated spaces. Why is British education being reshaped to fit Islamic values? Over 80 Sharia courts operate in the UK. Do these undermine British common law? And should religious arbitration have a place in a democratic nation? Christian church attendance is declining while mosques multiply. In some areas, the call to prayer is a daily reality. What does this mean for the UK's religious future? Reports of grooming gangs, honor-based violence, and rising crime spark public concern. Protests against mass immigration and Islamization are growing. Is the government addressing these issues or silencing critics? The United Kingdom stands at a crossroads. This is more than diversity. This is more than tolerance. This is a fundamental shift in Britain's identity. While the government focuses on foreign conflicts like Ukraine, the fundamental question remains, is Britain losing control of its own future?
Right, before I've got a bit of a comedy sketch for you that I found on Facebook. One last video, and it's about a caller calling into LBC, I think the channel is, the radio station. And the presenter of this radio station is denying that Labour covered up the grooming gang scandal. You know, get a fucking grip. You know what I mean? I mean, Jesus bloody wept. It's all out there now. But anyway, this caller is telling them this. And the presenter he's basically calling him a liar. You know what I mean?
Give me the example of where Labour have covered up the grooming gang scandal.
They've had to be dragged, kicking and screaming to the table. They should have,
to do what?
6 months ago, to agree to a compelling, independent national investigation. Are you telling me that Labour wanted to do this? They have not wanted to do this from the word go, and they branded us racists and dog whistlers, and they did everything to associate us with the far right.
But Seamus, that's not a cover-up,
want to do this.
That's not a cover-up.
Okay, you can challenge me on the word cover-up. I'm going to throw another word back at you. Denial, delay, nothing to see here, Governor. That is what we've had out of Labour, and you've seen their true colours. That's not leadership. That's not putting people first. Yet again, we're going to get another Grenfell type. Nothing happens. Nothing changes. Ordinary, decent people are cannon fodder to criminals and rapists, and nothing happens. It's not acceptable, Tom.
Unless you're willing to sit here and say there is evidence that they deliberately mislaid this information, or they deliberately squashed this particular investigation, or they deliberately sat on that, then I'm all ears, sir.
I am hoping that the National Inquiry will drag that out.
You came on to say that already. You came on and you said that Labour covered it up. So shall we revisit that and say, actually, we don't know whether Labour have covered it up. Hopefully an inquiry that has the teeth to go into all of this information can see why people weren't prosecuted for misconduct in public office when these scandals were running rampant.
Right. Because we've been on all this serious note, I've got a little comedy sketch for you here that I found on Facebook. Please don't ask me how I got it, because, you know, I think it's absolutely bloody hilarious. I don't know what to say, whether it's truth or not, because, well, I don't want to get myself into trouble. You know what I mean? But anyway, here we go. Have a good laugh.
How you managed to be such a misogynistic, racist little cunt.
I didn't think it was that noticeable.
Well, it is.
Seeing as we're getting personal here, why didn't you prosecute Jimmy Savile when you had the chance? Let's hear that story.
Well, I appreciate the honesty there, so I shall return the favour. Savile and I go way back to when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. He would regularly just turn up and take me out for the day. With my parents' permission, of course. We'd play football together, go to the cinema together, shower together. You know, we just had a really great time. Whilst we're on the subject of children, you lot have been enjoying yourselves, haven't you? Tell me why, as a practicing Muslim Pakistani, do you refuse to answer any questions, or indeed, as the Police and Crime Commissioner, have not requested any investigation into the Pakistani rape gang in London? I mean, that's a bit odd, isn't it?
I mean, who cares about white British kids anyway?
Well, absolutely. But my thoughts exactly. I'd take a couple of Ukrainian boys over English kids any day of the week.
Thank you, Stalin. As they say in England, Allah Akbar.
As they say in England, Alhamdulillah, whatever. Well,
what did you think?
Right, people. I did intend on wearing my berry for this. Raw engineers there. But forgot to put it on last minute. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, then please do consider subscribing. I don't put amazing amount of videos out, but I do put, you know, going to try and put regular videos out. I do suffer a lot of ill health. I've got broken spine. I've got all sorts going on. I mean, I've been tested now for cancer. But anyway, let's just, you know, consider subscribing to the channel. It is a good channel. I will be doing some prepping videos as well. Survivalist videos as well, because as I say, we are a prepping and survivalist channel. So, you know, there'll be survival videos out there as well. When I'm able, bodily able, I'm going to be getting out to the field, doing some other reviews, things like that, on items that I've got and I've bought out my own money, because I don't get monetized for this channel. I don't intend on ever accepting money for this channel. Everything's done out of my own pocket. If you want to help out, you know, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description to the channel. There's also other links that you can join into. You know what I mean? I'm not sure whether the Patreon channel is still active, but I will check it out. If it is, please do link up. You can basically speak your mind there. You know what I mean? There's nobody to correct you about anything like that. So, you know, please do consider subscribing to it. Anyway, hope you had a good time. Let's try and speak up, you know. Let's get this sorted, because I'm frightened for our country, you know what I mean? I'm worried that we're going to be bloody taken over. You know what I mean? I can't allow that. I cannot allow that. I won't allow that. And if I have to use my voice until I lose my bloody voice, then that's what I'm going to do. I am not encouraging violence in the streets. That is not the way to do it, because you know you get yourself arrested. And then it gets everyone else the bad name of, oh, you're far right. You know what I mean? We are just people. We are English, British people that don't want our country losing our Christianity and our background, our history, our proud English history. You know what I mean? We go back thousands of years. You know what I mean? We built this country from scratch after the Saxons. You know what I mean? Come on, people. You know what I mean? Let's get the country sorted here. Get it back to being the great Britain we're proud of. Catch you soon.
Right, let's talk about this, because people are terrified to say it out loud. A woman was raped in her own home for 5 hours. She had bleach poured into her eyes and mouth and forced to eat cat feces. And if that wasn't enough, he burnt off her hair and stole her belongings. This isn't about race, and this isn't about background. This is about evil being allowed to walk around our country because the government refuses to take our safety seriously. Went through absolute hell, and for what? Our borders are a revolving door, and our vetting is a joke. And the justice system is softer than a wet tissue. Every time an asylum seeker commits a crime like this, our politicians come out with the same pathetic condolences. People are sick of it. They're sick of watching innocent women suffer because the state refused to protect them. You step into a country and commit violence, you should lose every single privilege instantly. Zero tolerance, no debate.
And you know what? I'm going to keep putting this kind of stuff out, right?